All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the February PTO meeting. Today we have Lisa Wolak presenting the budget, and it will be focused on WIS and Hurlbut. This meeting is being recorded. If you can please remember to mute yourselves if you're not speaking, that would be wonderful. And we will go ahead and start with Mrs. Cadis.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. Maria, I love the music at the beginning of the meeting. It's such a great way to start. So good morning, everybody. Hard to believe it's February already. So I just have a few updates. Just a reminder and an FYI, our kindergarten registration link is open. So you can go to the Weston Public Schools website, follow the Hurlbut link. And if you have a kindergartner or know somebody who has an incoming kindergartner next year, our registration is open. So we are excited that that is underway, and more information will be coming about spring activities around registration. But please spread the word. And if you have an incoming K student for next year, you can register them through our website. We also have March conferences right around the corner. That will be for Hurlbut and for WIS. Teachers have been or will be sending out sign-up links. We again will be offering either in-person or virtual conferences, whichever parents prefer. A lot of our families have told us they do like the convenience of the virtual, so we will have those as an option, but we will also have in-person for families who want to come in and meet with their teachers in person. Just a few updates on activities for Hurlbut. For the month of February, we have been celebrating acts of kindness. And each morning on the announcements, we announce what the act of kindness is for the day. Sometimes some examples are using please and thank you as a way to be kind. And then we give an example of what a student can do. And then we celebrate throughout the day as the students practice those. So hopefully they are coming home and sharing those with you. You can certainly ask your student what some acts of kindness are that we have been doing at school. And we're hoping that spills over into the home and they're practicing those kindness acts at home as well. We also celebrated February 14th this year, very exciting. The 100th day of school and Valentine's Day happen to fall on the same day. So that is always an exciting day for us. The number 100 is really a milestone number for us as part of our base 10 math system. So it's a big day in kindergarten, especially, but through all the grades, it's just an exciting day to celebrate 100 days of learning here at school. So those are my updates. Thank you, Maria, for the time.
Thank you, Mrs. Cadis. Mrs. Falber, the floor is yours.
Okay, sorry, I had to unmute myself. So good morning, welcome everyone. February has been a fun time here because we've also been taking time to celebrate the various holidays. Many of our classes did Valentine's Day parties, so it was really fun having all the pink and purple and red in our building. But some of our classes actually chose to instead to celebrate Super Bowl or to celebrate Chinese New Year. So there was lots of food and fun activities going on here last week and the beginning of this week. We ran a Super Bowl food drive that was really successful. As the students brought their food into the school, they got to choose whether to donate the box to the Rams or to the Bengals. Actually the Rams won. So it was sort of a little foreshadowing of what actually happened at the Super Bowl. So that was fun. We have been celebrating acts of kindness as well. The students get to fill out every time an act of kindness is done, they fill out a little snowflake or a little snowman, and we're trying to bring our snow level in the main hallway up to past the snowman that's out there. So it's increasing. I should send home pictures to show what it looks like. So and to sell it to sort of culminate our acts of kindness month, we have a wonderful speaker that the PTO is providing for us coming in March, Brian Williams, who wrote books on Kindness Ninja. So that'll be really fun for our kids to hear from them. Also coming up in March, as Laura said, we have parent teacher conferences, and we too will be offering both in-person and virtual options for that. So those should be coming out from the teachers soon. So be on the lookout for those. I think that's a quick update, snapshot of what's been happening here. So
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs.
thank
Felber.
you. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to welcome Lisa Wolak, our superintendent, to speak to us about the budget. Lisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Sorry I was delayed. I had a problem with the link, but I appreciate that. Maria, did you get the presentation?
No, did you email it to me?
Just a minute, please. Yes.
I'll double check right now.
Jody said she emailed it to you.
I
Okay,
see it. I'm pulling it up right now and I'll share it. Thank
thank
you.
you. I appreciate that. I guess I could have, I guess sometimes I get nervous with the technology and I'm a little bit
All
tired.
good.
We had a long meeting
Oh,
last
you
night.
had a long night.
Yeah, I had a long night.
Meeting.
But it was a very productive meeting. So I was happy to get a lot of things done and be able to listen to people's different viewpoints and to share information about the best school district in the nation, ours. Okay, Maria.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go.
Thanks, great. Okay, so this is an abbreviated, next slide, please.
Yes.
Ready? Okay. This is an abbreviated presentation that is the full presentation is on the board book on the Board of Education website. I think I sent out links. This is just a kind of an abridged version because it's for the PTOs. I like to speak specifically to, the schools and the particular PTOs that are on the meeting, because that's the question, like, how is this going to affect my kid? Or what are our children at Hurlbut and West, what can they expect in the budget? What supports the budget? So when we designed the budget, we were really looking at, obviously this is the lens. We want to ensure that we fulfill the community expectations. As I said, in my heart of heart, Weston is exemplary. It's one of the highest achieving school districts in both the state and the nation. It is also a community of caring people that support their children. It takes a village. The best example is here in Weston. We also have to keep in mind, however, that we need to maximize the funding, the academic return on investment of every dollar of the $57 million without overburdening you, the taxpayers, because let's face it, there's no commercial property base really to speak of, and that we are very conscious of that it's on your tax dollars that we accomplish our work. Next slide. So this is our mission. The mission is really important. And I look at everything through the lens of the mission. We spent a lot of time working on this mission. I love this mission. I love to think of what are the evidence indicators of the work that we are doing. When we're talking about contributing to our global society, what are the evidence indicators? Well, you go to Hurlbut and the WIS and you see the little children learning Spanish. And it's just wonderful to see. That's an evidence indicator. You talk about empowering each child to achieve success. And you look at the things in their class charters and the way that they want to treat each other, cultivating character and what they want to accomplish, their aspirations, their hopes. In Mrs. Giametti's class, one of the things they had written was how many books they wanted to read, what they wanted to learn about in math. This is all very important, and the budget needs to support this. Next slide, please. So the proposed budget is 57 million, just shy of 57 million. It represents a 3.46% increase. Part of that has to do with, and this is where it gets complicated and not complicated, but just a little bit more challenging in that it has to do with, it would be lower than a 3. It would be a 2.7 if we did not absorb the dental claims. You might say, well, what does dental claims have to do with it? We use the state partnership plan for insurance. Our budget is, I think it's approximately 78% is salary and benefits. The dental claims is a small piece of that. It's not with the state partnership, and it had been funded traditionally traditionally over the last several years from an internal services fund with the town. That fund went from over $1 million to right now it's at like 388. And the town said, be careful. We don't want to keep depleting that in case we wish to go back to a self-funded insurance. This summer, we have, beginning in the summer, 3 contracts we have to negotiate. All of our bargaining units are up. So the town set that parameter up, and that was, $400,000 we had to figure out. And I think we figured out a great way to incorporate that money in the operating budget. There has been some talk with the selectmen about perhaps not taking as much out, and those talks will continue with the Board of Finance about the internal services fund. But let's talk specifically now about how we are going to help our students. These are our strategic goals. We want to support Weston's Portrait of a Graduate, and that is so important. It's a pre-K to 12 journey. It doesn't all of a sudden happen in 9th grade. The foundation, the building blocks, and all kinds of aspects of academic and co-curricular programs start at Hurlbut. And they, our youngest learners really need to start developing those skills. And Hurlbut does an excellent job of setting the stage as you go down school road at the intermediate, then the middle, and then the high school. But this is an overview of our goals. We do have action plans for each school on their website. We have a district action plan, which speaks to it a lot more specifically. Goals are great. What are the action steps to get us there? How are we going to improve academic performance? How are we going to make sure that our students with disabilities are taken care of? How are we going to promote an inclusive climate? What are we going to do? That's so important. What do we need? $57 million. How we're going to do it. This is the steps we're going to do it. Why? Because we owe it to our children. And that's what the community expects. Next slide. We do get money from grants, and I think it's important to know that the $1 million in grants, it's not in the operating budget, and these grants are a gift that we take very seriously, the spending of those funds. We have reoccurring grants, and then we have the federal grants specifically for learning loss in COVID. Title I, Title II, Title IV, IDEA. You look at all of that, that's about almost, my math's not that great, but $570,000. Those no more than that, sorry, almost $600,000. That money recurs. So when you look at that and you say, oh, wow, you have in here Title I, academic success, $61,000. That is the interventionist in reading at the intermediate school. That is half of her salary. That is directly working with children. When you look at the professional development that we get, again, from the federal government, what is that used for? To build teachers' capacity, specifically in the area of math and reading, that directly impacts the classroom. IDEA is the money that we receive to meet the needs of students with disabilities. That $500,000 offsets the paras and 2 staff members in the classroom. Those reoccur. We can count on that money pretty much. It's the ESSER that's going to go away, and it's going to go away after next year unless the federal government reallocates it. So we have to be very careful when we look at that. The 2 ESSER lines, you have 175 and the 345. How are we spending those funds? And how are we spending them in a way that when they go away, it's not a big, huge hit to the operating budget? Next slide. So Hurlbut Elementary School, I love our little bee, Horace, right? Mrs. Cadis, that's the name, Horace the bee. Just a quick overview. At the elementary school, it's all about class size, right? You move to Weston for a certain class size, and it's important that we honor that class size. And so it's supporting these number of class sections. And for kindergarten to 1st grade, it's 18 to 20, 2nd grade to 5th, it's 20 to 24, correct? Ms. Falber?
Yes, correct.
Correct. Okay. And that's really important, and I was very blunt. We, over the years, have done different things with staffing, and we're at the point now where we have to protect the instructional core. and the supporting the sections in grades K-2, supporting the preschool is critical at Hurlbut. We also, for the first time, have a math curriculum instructional leader dedicated to Hurlbut students. That is paid for this year by ESSER. Next year, although we still have ESSER funds, we are putting it in the operating budget. It cannot be cut. We need to have that. It was unrealistic and frankly unsupportive of the district to have one curriculum instructional leader, K-5, in charge of science and math. You had one person running between two buildings trying to help 60 people teach those two subjects. Just not good. And so we're so pleased to be able to have Kelly DeVecchio in that role to support Carolyn Vinton at the intermediate school. We also want to maintain our reading interventionists. We want to provide professional development in math. We want to make sure that all the kindergartners get new iPads because the apps can't be supported that we want to use on the old ones. And the educational software in the area of phonics and Lexia, Dreambox, all of that provides choice and engagement to our youngest learners, and that's very important, as is Tableau. We spoke about Tableau last night if you were on the Board of Ed call about the academics. And, you know, when we look at academics and we do data analysis, there is a wonderful software program for Tableau. The district did not have enough licenses. We increased them this year because teachers shouldn't have to search for how can I find out the data of how my child in the classroom is doing? Which student do I need to work in a different way with? And that's the cost behind that. Next slide, please. Special ed, again, we have to fulfill our responsibilities to students with IEPs. We are supporting the position of a district school psychologist to increase to assist in the increased demands of testing across the schools. We've had a lot more testing, and it as a result of the pandemic and students being home, the social emotional toll that it has taken on hybrid and different combinations of learning, and that is really important. And we have seen that at Hurlbut especially, when you had two psychologists that are consumed with testing, that model perhaps needs to be changed. And so next year we will reallocate one of the school psychologists to be a school social worker. It's a different skill set, working with families, but we think that by doing that, having the school psychologist, having the social worker, and then having a district school psychologist to help across buildings where the ebb and flow of the testing is needed, it will better address our youngest learners' needs. And then, of course, we have our healthy learning environment. We are increasing lunch recess supervisors, just a slight bit. We need to make sure the children obviously are safe at lunch and recess, that they are playing together cooperatively. And to be perfectly frank, to have administrators to have to fill in at times for 7-8 hours a week, taking them away from the teaching and learning and putting them out on the playground. It's important, but we need to do better. And the way to do that is have increased supervision with specific supervisors tailored to that. Next slide. Intermediate school, again, we have to support the sections. We do anticipate one less section in grade 5 that is strictly by enrollment. There is, we're watching very carefully grade 3, right, Mrs. Falber? Because if the enrollment increases, we're going to need that section in grade 3.
Yes.
And we have no problem asking. In the past, right, Patty? I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yes, we asked last year. That was a grade we're always watching. It sort of seems to be on a bubble. So we will continue to watch. And if we need one, we will talk to the board about an additional section as we did last year, and we needed it. So
we watch that number very close. Our challenge is to make the prediction and the request sooner rather than later, because I'm sure you can appreciate we do not want to be looking for a teacher the last week of the summer. We want the best quality person that we can get. So we're watching weekly, how is that enrollment going? We have certain levels of math intervention again in at the intermediate school, in reading as well. And I've indicated how we're paying for that, whether it be the different federal grants, the operating budget. And we also have increased the licenses in Tableau and the educational software. I have to say, as a secondary person my entire career, although I did teach 3rd and 4th grade Spanish, to go in the elementary schools and see how those students right away can get engaged with that software, and how the teacher can monitor, and how they can choose what they're working on, especially in the morning with their arrival. It's really powerful, engaging stuff. That I'm very proud of them. Next slide. And this pretty much reiterates the last slide. Again, the individualized ed plans, the school psychologist that will also, the district that will help support at the intermediate school as needed. And then when you look at, there's a lot of stipends in our budget. And when you look at the stipends and you look at things like Math Olympiad, and you look at things such as PBIS or team leaders, all those translate into providing that connection with children that is so important, and that what Weston is known for. Next slide. These are the 4 budget drivers. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but as I said, if almost 80% of the budget is staffing, and staffing is tied to enrollment, staffing, salaries and benefits, it's all going to be tied together. Next slide. And there's just a graphic representation. All the blue and orange is the contractual obligations. And basically, we looked very carefully at every position and how we could maximize those positions in the budget, perhaps reallocate where needed to get the best academic return on investment. Next slide. This year, what we also did was, because of the enrollment and not knowing, coming still hopefully turning the corner with COVID, we used 2 consultants to determine the enrollment. We got 2 different viewpoints. One was called NESDEC, one was SLAM. And then where it really the rubber meets the road is when you look at what the differences are. And if the differences, especially K through 5 and also K through 8, as far as at the academic team level, where the differences would tip a section. So like here, you can see there's a big discrepancy with kindergarten right here. We're going with the 130 in kindergarten. And the reason we're doing that is because, again, we don't want to be short-sighted. Ms. Cadis predicts the number to go higher than 114, our experience shows. Laura, I don't know if you wish to add something about that.
Yeah, so the thing to remember too with the enrollment is that at 120 is really where we need those 6 sections. We're anticipating 7 sections for next year. So I do think this is a really good enrollment number to go with. Lisa and I have talked about this a lot. We always watch it very closely. Kindergarten registration is open, as I mentioned earlier, and we do look at those numbers and evaluate them as we get into the spring on a weekly basis.
Thank you, Laura.
Very, very closely.
Thank you, Laura. And that's an important point. NESDEC predicts 114, but at 120, we need another section. So we're not going to do one less section. And again, I am not going to scramble to try to find someone if, we're going to have to put, if this person is a reduction, that person finds another job. These are little children. We have to give them the best that we can. Next slide. We need to give all children the best we can. So this is the enrollment we're going with, and you can see that the difference is really, it's basically is the 5th grade that we're looking at, and we're monitoring it closely. When you look at the high school, not to get too into the weeds, and you say, oh, well, there's 25 kids at the high school. Those of you that have high school experience, all the classes, 70% of them are mixed grade levels. So you really can't say, an algebra 2 class, oh, well, in algebra 2 in 10th grade, this is the number of kids. It doesn't work that way. You have 9, 10, 11, and 12 in algebra 2, just as a point of reference. Next slide. So I spoke a little bit about that, the reallocation. Next slide. This is just an overview of how we organize our staff between administration, teachers, and instructional paras. Our special ed staff, our support staff. We're very lucky here to have 5 nurses, especially given the current circumstance. Not all districts have that, a nurse per building plus a supervisor. Very important. Next slide. And again, overall, when you consider that this is almost 70% of the budget, to only be increasing from last year a 0.11 in the total salary accounts, I think is a tribute to the hard work that the team put together. These are our contractual obligations, and this is the last year of these contracts. Next slide. Benefits. So this is, you can't really see, it's terrible. I think it's important to know that benefits, which is about, it's being increased about $500,000. It also includes things like, it's not just insurance, sick bank, tuition reimbursement. We want and we encourage our staff to continue with their education. Things like unemployment, Medicare, all of that is lumped in. We also contribute to our support staff, state of Connecticut pension. The district contributes to that, not the teachers, that's the teacher and the state, but we do contribute to the support staff pension. Next slide. This is our health insurance that we're looking at very closely. The different premium cost shares with the administrators paying the largest, quite frankly, which is appropriate because they do get the largest salaries. And we will be looking at this. It is mitigated by what they pay. We will be looking at this going into negotiations, and this is not my area of expertise. Traditionally, within our budget, we have funding for an insurance consultant. Next slide. Special ed, again, we are still working through challenges that our students have faced as a result of the pandemic. And I want to put in a plug for next week. Dr. Kaplan is doing a parent presentation on Zoom on, I believe it's February 23rd. I think something went out about that. He is a consultant we've been working with Yale, and I would encourage parents to log in to hear him. And then it talks about just a few things with the proposed budget. We have a very successful alternative pathways program at the high school. It's the first year of an in-house program. It's been so successful for students that really struggle in that setting that we need increased academic support in it. We have the reallocation at Hurlbut. We also have in that, and it's a grant funded position, is a clerical position for the new rollout of the software program that the state, I would call it an unfunded mandate, is requiring us to do. So 1 year position, because we need help for that 1 year to put all the documents over to the statewide system. Next slide. These are just some rough costs. When you think about the utilities. When you look at the budget and it talks about supplies, you need to understand also that supply line has all kinds of things. It also has utilities costs, which you might say, well, that's not a supply, but that's how it's categorized. But when you look at it, it's $1 million in utilities costs. Our infrastructure request is another 100,000 that we need. We have to support our network at 100,000. Equipment repairs and rental costs is 300,000. And we do have legal fees. There are special education legal fees as well as district legal fees. We have to abide by the Freedom of Information Act. It is a citizen's right to be able to, ask for certain documents. And this is a laborious, intensive process, and it requires a certain level of expertise with our legal counsel. Next slide. So again, there's salary and benefits, most of the budget. Next slide. Favorite slides here, because I always think about when you think about that 78%, what I want you to think about is Jimmy Fisher, our veteran, who makes sure that those children get in the right car every afternoon. And Matt Paler, who was so happy to pose with Avery in their matching coats. These are powerful photos. These are the people behind the work. I see Mireya Dietrich up there on the right-hand corner working with one of our youngest learners it's either kindergarten or preschool. Amazing, amazing paraprofessional. And of course, Andrea Noble providing reading intervention. And of our beloved bus drivers, shout out, next week is Bus Driver Appreciation Week. They are not paid for out of our operating budget, but they are very much a part of our family. Next slide. And here is our intermediate school with our incredible security guard. I know him as Stu, gosh, I can't remember his last name. speaks fluent Spanish, another fun fact, who's always out there and stays later than so many people because he's there providing security for our afternoon WOW program. Very powerful work that we do. Jen gets meticulously getting those labs ready in science in both buildings, going between schools. I'm so proud of the work that our teachers and our support staff, our maintenance staff, everyone does, because it truly is a collective effort, and we take great pride in that effort. Next slide. Best picture ever. I was like, I have to end with the rainbow. Find the rainbow picture. Yeah, it wasn't photoshopped in. This is our vision, and that we are going to set the standard, and we work very hard to set the standard, and this budget supports that. So thank you for your support. I would encourage you to come out and participate in the referendum. The main thing is to have your voice heard, whether you support, you don't support, or you have some additional questions. That is your right as citizens of Weston, and we encourage the participation. I think that that kind of dialogue, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Sometimes afterwards, you might say, you know, I remember when Lisa said this, or Patty referenced that, and you know, I was thinking about that, and I have a question. Please just send us an email, and we'll be happy, or go through Maria or Debbie, and we'll be happy to get more clarification on any of the things that we talked about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We appreciate your time. The Bus Driver Appreciation Week, I didn't know that was next week. So that's wonderful. I'm going to do something special.
I believe it is, right? Someone told me it was, I think, at one of the schools. Quick, somebody check it on Google. Let me check. Because I have a podcast that I did with two of the bus drivers, and I'm putting in another plug for my podcast. And I'm like, don't release it. Let's send it out for next week. It's a story about John, the bus driver, if you have John, and how he was so happy to drive our girls volleyball team to the state championship and the victory. And I guess all the little children also that rode his bus saw the pictures of the girls and everything else. But, you know, I better Google that after I made that public announcement. But
we'll make sure it's right. And if we do, then we'll make sure we do something for them. Thank you so much. I'm going to go over to our next set of business, which is, let me do the slideshow here. President's reports. Apologize. I have too many screens up. There we go. All right. So we are looking for volunteers for the executive and general board of the PTO next year. There are plenty of positions that people can volunteer for and help. They're all listed on the website. If you have specific questions about one of them, you can always reach out to me or to the people that are actually in those positions this year, or Nicole Copans, who is chairing our nominations committee. You can nominate yourself, or you can nominate a friend. The nominations is just the committee name that we use. You're welcome to put your name in for a position that you'd like to do. Please remember to submit your photos for the yearbook. That is how our yearbook chairs fill the book, is with photos from parents and teachers and staff. So if you have some great pictures of Halloween or after school sports, whatever it may be, you can submit those through the link it's in the buzz that we'll be sending out next week. It's also in previous buzzes as well. We are working on an outdoor movie night for the end of April to kind of celebrate Memorial Day Fair and get the tickets started. We're excited about this. More details will be coming for that. But we are beyond thrilled that we've been given the okay to continue planning for the fair. Contracts are being signed and we are moving forward. Debbie.
Sorry, I'm on my phone looking to try to find the bus appreciation date. I'm not being successful.
I found it. Look at that. It's true.
That's great. We will also do something fun. I have something in mind for everybody, for some of our support staff that I think sometimes get underappreciated. So I'm going to copy Maria a little bit with some of my comments. We also have the nominating committee. Mindy Fierro is our amazing chair for that. We have several spots again for our executive and general board positions. Those descriptions, while they look like they were written in 2012, they were, but the job description is pretty much the same. We're working on updating those descriptions, but please take a look at those. We would love to have more amazing, generous people on our boards. We have a great team that works really well together on our executive board. We have a couple people that are rolling off because their kids are moving up to the middle school. And we also have some open positions on our general board. We were able to fill all the positions this year, but we do have, again, a few people rolling off. So please join our amazing team if you have time. If you want like a one and done sort of situation, we can work with you to make sure that your volunteer needs are being met by finding positions for you on one of our boards. As Mrs. Falber mentioned, Brian Williams is coming to WIS in person on March 14th, and the PTO has purchased books that should already be at WIS. They might be in the front. I see Mrs. Falber giving me a big thumbs up. Shelley Reines has the books in the library, and also our gray chairs are also going to be given the books, so those can start circulating so our students can be familiar with him and his mission and his project. He's going to be an amazing speaker. I feel that he's going to give our students the support that they need to show kindness and to help them, like one of my kids, yes, he has friends, but he needs more friends. Who doesn't need more friends? So it's about breaking out of your shell and being the best person that you can be. So I'm so excited about him coming in person to our school. We're working with Mrs. Falber and the staff to make sure that all of our COVID guidelines are being met, that there's appropriate distancing. So we're going to do a combination of some in person, some via Zoom, and then make sure that everybody gets some time with him. I have another author speaker that I'm not going to announce yet, but I will tease everybody that we do have an amazing book author. Yes, Brian Williams has written books, but this guy, my kids are blown away. If you ask one of my kids, they know who it is, and they've been sworn to secrecy. But he's coming on April 21st. So get ready. As soon as we get over the excitement from Brian Williams coming, we will start announcing our author speaker. I think he's on the level of Dan Gutman. So those of you that have a fifth grader know that Dan Gutman, who does the My School series, I forget what it's called already, but this guy's on the level of that. So I'm so excited about him. And we have a fundraiser coming up with family portraits. So if you missed out on getting fall family portraits of your beautiful families, we have Karen Morneau, who is a local amazing photographer that I know families in Weston that already use her for their own family sessions, but she's going to do a fundraiser with us just on May 14th for 20-minute mini sessions. Her fee is a donation to us. So I wrote 50, but I think I forget what it is. She already wrote up a sheet for me. But it's a donation to the PTO for our philanthropy budget. And then there's an additional fee for either digital files, prints of various sizes, canvases, albums. And we're working with her on getting a extremely local location to do the photographs, or we also have Ambler Farm. There's another farm in New Canaan. So maybe Sherwood Island. So we're working on locations with her, and all that information will be announced in our whistle. And also we'll have signups on our website. But if you'd like to see the style of her photography, her website's posted here, and it will be in the whistle this week. But I hope that I'm going to bring my family out to take family portraits, because we have never done that. But I thought that would be a great thing to help raise funds for us and also get memories for your families. Couple other quick things. Shelley Reines, the librarian, she's also going to make a video for us so we can see the amazing things that she's done to update and revamp her new library space. So that will also be posted on Instagram. She'll give us a tour, talk about projects or Maker Tech. Excuse me, I have COVID, so excuse the cough. Still out there. let's see what else. Also, just a copy, Maria, again, please get your photos into Sarah Gargiulo. We also have information in the whistle about how you can download your photographs of your beautiful children in the different milestones that are happening throughout the year. And that's all I have. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Debbie. And now Stacy, I believe Stacy, you're presenting for the BOE, right?
Yep.
All right.
All right. So last night's meeting, or marathon, I think is a better word for it. The big topic of discussion was the mask mandate. So everybody knows that on February 27th, Governor Lamont has said that the mask mandate will be suspended. So the parents that were in attendance spoke both pros and cons. So it can be a contentious discussion at times, but everybody ultimately is just concerned about the safety of their own child. So some of the things that were touched on for mask choice, parent choice, or removal of the masks, a lot of people spoke of speech development and learning delays that are happening when you can't see the mouth. Teaching phonetics and pronunciation is difficult. Great length discussions about social and emotional mental health issues. We've all been talking about it all year, and they're real. Little children that aren't able to interact in the way that they're used to with their peers. Even the toxicity of what you're breathing inside the mask that hasn't been touched on that much, but it is actually a real thing. Headaches, disorders, things like that. They also talked about, is there really enough scientific data to show that masks are stopping the spread within the school district? So many studies are highlighting the detrimental effects. And a lot of people feel that we're moving towards an endemic rather than the pandemic. So should we in fact be changing our protocols to reflect that we're moving out of this sort of acute viral situation that we've been in for 2 years? Other people spoke of survival rates and that other school districts around us have taken off the mask without some really significant increases in the virus. And I think truly the biggest argument is just that parents want to choose for their own child. So conversely, on the other side, next slide, are the arguments to not take the masks off. Our youngest citizens can't get vaccinated. So what are we doing to their safety? Only 52.8% of our 5 to 11-year-olds are currently vaccinated, which isn't great. How are we making this decision? A lot of people want written data to show why we're doing it. Are we just sort of jumping on the bandwagon that, well, the governor said that we can do it, so we're going to do it, or is it really data driven? Some parents brought up, why not just wait a little bit until the weather is warm enough where we can get ventilation and flow through the classrooms with open windows. And there are guidelines from the American Association of Pediatrics and the CDC that are saying that masks do prevent the spread and that we should be wearing them in close quarters. Parents want to know what the contingency plan is. Is it written down that should the numbers rise, how will we as a district handle it? And what really are we doing then to the immunocompromised and the elderly and our staff, and how does this sort of affect everybody within the community? So people are passionate about it, and I think it was a good mix of sort of where people are as our community. So next slide. So Mrs. Wolak then discussed her recommendation, which is parental mask choice after February 28th. There are things that we're waiting for. So although the state Senate and the House have approved this executive order, we as a district are waiting for the Department of Public Health and the Office of Early Childhood Education to set out guidelines, solid plan of how to move forward. And the recommendations, I know the superintendent is waiting for them as we speak. So they have been promised and we're just sort of waiting their guidelines. If masking does become optional, then Weston continues to follow the mitigating strategies that we've been doing all along. The voluntary testing, vaccine clinics. If you need a test, call the nurse, following quarantine procedures. What I thought was interesting is that the board discussed critical issues that we really need to address post-mandate. So if we are going towards a no mask in school, writing out the protocols of how it all happens, the physical part of it, ventilation, HVAC, HEPA filters, are they doing what they need to do? Are we doing as much as we need to do to make sure that the buildings are as safe as they possibly can be? Again, staying on top of the data. We know that the vaccine is fluent. It changes rapidly. Not just to say, okay, masks are off, we're all safe, but continue to stay informed and to change if we need to. And identify the vulnerable in our community and how we're going to support them if the masks come off. And I thought it was interesting to talk about the transitional period. We're all so used to masks. So if they come off at school, how will children actually feel about it? The children that are removing the masks, they can't wait to get them off. I'm done, no more masks. Looking at the kids that are still wearing the masks, and how does that relate to each other? And I think Mrs. Kadis said it really well, that we as a community, a district, school district community, are constantly reinforcing the value of respecting other people's differences, opinions. And maybe that's something that we need to step up through the transition period if the masks do come off, is how do we handle a child saying, well, why are you wearing your mask? That's stupid. We're not supposed to be wearing masks, even though they shouldn't say that word, but they might. How will we handle it going forward? So I think that was a very valid conversation to have. And then there was a brief discussion about the homebound education policy, which really is reserved for only children that positively cannot come to school to be on virtual learning. What if a family says, I cannot send my child because I don't think it's safe? Is there some sort of policy update that we can discuss? That is definitely state driven, so it's not something that we as a district can decide on our own. So it's a point of conversation for sure. So that was a big part of it. The second part was updating our academic goals at the beginning of the year. We've discussed where we want to be in math and reading, and the goal for math to deepen conceptual understanding of concepts. These are our targets, making sure that at least 75% of our students are exceeding our goals on testing. In reading, to ensure that all students read at a grade level or higher by grade 3, which I think is an amazing goal. And our benchmarks, 85% for grades 3 and 8, meeting those goals, and 75%, which would make them above the percentile in spring. So those are the goals we've set. So next slide. What's happening currently is, ooh, that looks a little strange. Okay. Actually skipped one. If we can go back. And if not, thank you. So the map, everybody knows the map. It's the measure of academic progress. It measures achievement. It's a snapshot that you're taking immediately of what's happening with a student on that day, but it's also a growth, a progress for the growth of where the students are. So we are going to give this test 3 times this year. Fall and winter have already been completed. It's adaptive, it's untimed. So these tests, they're standardized tests that are used in conjunction with the teacher's daily, weekly assessments and classroom observations. It's not the only way that our district measures our students. And I think both Mrs. Falber and Mrs. Kadis were very pointed in that point, that it's not just, scratching a little circle on a test that shows us how the students are progressing. And just a brief outline of where Hurlbut is for the young people. This is the first time they've taken standardized tests. First and second graders take the math, second graders only take the reading. And in summary, the achievements, you can see that basically around 70% of our students are above the national grade level mean in both math and reading. I know those numbers are strong. I think everybody thinks that we could probably do any better. As far as the growth, you also can see that if you combine the 2 scores of the children that actually did meet their grade level growth, as well as the ones that are just almost meeting it. Again, we're in the 70th percentile in both reading and math. Next slide. And then in WIS, the whole school takes the reading and math assessments. Again, the numbers really strong for math, upwards of 70% of third graders, fourth graders, and fifth graders are all above the national grade level for math. For reading, it's even higher. It's above 80%. And the growth, again, roughly around 70% in both meeting those growth targets that we've set or just falling short. So always room for improvement for sure. And then finally, just some general announcements. The budget timeline, the board approved the budget in January. The presentation to the Board of Selectmen is in February. And then the submission to the Board of Finance is on March 7th. On March 2nd, there's a public forum, which is to update all of us on the facilities optimization of schools and towns. And then lastly, a big discussion about whether to return to in-person meetings for the board. A lot of parents actually voiced their opinion that they wanted the board to return to in-person. The decision is made that they're going to try that for March, but they did want people to know that right now the Zoom is actually a really efficient way to get as many people as possible interacting. You know, it's hard for parents to drop everything and run to the school often at 6:30 or 7 at night. Last night's meeting was 5 hours, so that would have been very difficult, I think, for a lot of parents to get there for that amount of time. So I think it's valid that perhaps remote is a better way to do it, but to honor those requests, it will be in person in March, and then they may make a choice to go back to Zoom, depending on sort of what the turnout is and what the quality of the meeting is, et cetera. So the next meeting's scheduled for March 14th at 7, but that time will be confirmed, so just stay tuned. And all of these things, all of the charts, they're very in-depth. If you want to look at it, this is obviously just the very briefest of updates, so check out the meeting on the live stream. Thanks.
Thank you, Stacy. This was a giant meeting for you to partake in. So thank you very much for that. It was very long and your copious notes are greatly appreciated. Jenny can't be here. She had a conflict this morning. So I'm going to do the philanthropy requests for Hurlbut. We have 2 philanthropy requests that were approved in executive and philanthropy. The first is for One School, One Book, which is fun. I think the kids always love this. For parents who don't know, Mrs. Rodko picks one book and the entire school reads it together at the same time. All the staff read it too. And parents, if we get to sneak peeks and try to read it as well. Then there's an event at the end of the book reading outside, and the kids get to partake in activities that that correlate to the book they've read. And it's top secret, nobody knows. So this includes 1 copy of the book for everyone in the school community, plus a mascot and any supplies they may need. The approximate cost is $3,065. Can I have a first?
First, Erin Tiska.
Thank you, Erin. And a second?
Second, Stephanie Feingold.
Thank you, Stephanie. The second request was for a new laminator. The laminator that was last purchased was in 2008. It is reaching its end of life. It has been served. It's served us well. It's time to replace it. It's a vital resource for the school and other schools. I know that other schools, we were told other schools come down to use our laminator, which is great. It helps to lengthen the life of the manipulatives, posters, and other instructional items. The approval for this is up to $3,000. There's been several quotes. Mrs. Rodko is looking at getting the best one. Can I have a first for this?
I'll first.
Sorry.
Sorry, Jenny. No, that's fine.
Or second.
I'll second.
Thank you. And that is it for Philanthropy. Francesca, WIS Philanthropy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. We had an emergency request from our Shelley Rennes. Unfortunately, the 3D printer broke and they tried to repair it, but it's very old. It's 10 years old, so it's broken beyond repair. So it couldn't be repaired. And she asked this as an emergency because especially the fifth graders use it in their Maker Tech class. And it's a great and valuable resource because it gets them basically ready for the program in middle school. So she gave us two options. One is this MakerBot replicator, which is the one that the board, the philanthropy meeting approved, because it's basically the same model that they had before, just obviously a more modern and updated version. So, you know, there would be nothing to learn about this machine that's already known by them. And they don't have the budget for this, but she will have the budget for all the materials that she will need, you know, the filaments and so forth. And the request is for $2,099. If I can have a first on this.
First, Stacey Dunbar.
And the second.
Livia second.
Thank you so much. And that's it. That's all for me.
Thank you, Francesca. Elizabeth, meeting minutes.
Okay. So this is for the meeting minutes from January 19th, our last general meeting. And if you can just have a glance over, and also if anyone needs to highlight any questions or issue with the minutes. This was the one where we had the day camps presentation as well. So if there aren't any questions, if I could have a first.
First, Ginny.
Thank you, Jenny. And then if I can have a second. All right, thanks, Erin. Thanks. I think that's it for the meeting minutes.
Thank you. This is where I get stuck. Hold on. All right, 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. Now we'll go back to sharing. I apologize. I found it. Sorry about that. I shut it by accident. Okay. There we go. And we're back to meeting minutes. There we go. Shannon.
Hi, yes, again, so I posted the meeting minutes where WIS is concerned from our January 19th meeting. It was the day camp, as well as we passed quite a few important philanthropy requests, and as well as the speaker series to bring Brian Williams here in March, which is very exciting. So if anyone has any other things to add or questions, feel free to speak up. Otherwise, I'll make an approval or a motion to approve the meetings from January 19th. May I have a first?
First, Debbie.
Thanks, Debbie. And second?
Second.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Chris.
Chris? Thank
Yeah.
you, Chris.
Thank you, Shannon. And now Jennifer Murphy with the Hurlbut Treasury Report.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm going to be reporting on the January monthly numbers. For our operating budget, we had a starting balance in the month of January of $18,878.82. Our activity during the month included minimal spiritware sales and interest income, leaving us with an ending balance of $18,757.18. The expenses, excuse me, I failed to explain that, included a payment to WIS for some misclassified league athletic sales. Pretty simple. People bought some items. They got categorized on our online sales system as being Hurlbut, but in fact were WIS. So we just paid WIS back for that and some basic credit card fees. On the philanthropy side, again, very little movement, minimal interest income. One payout to a teacher from the teacher discretionary fund. Glad to see them using it. And the payment to the company Impulse for our wall calendar printing that resulted in good fundraising dollars for us. The starting balance was $58,108.70. We ended with $55,866.53, with an estimated balance remaining for allocation of $17,260. Thanks.
Thanks, Jennifer. Chris.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. On the operating side, you can see our starting balance of $17,600. We had some yearbook income, which was an old check that got redeposited. We had some league athletics income. We had some directory printing expenses, some teacher and staff expenses, and some general board expenses. We also had a Presco invoice for hats and blankets, leaving our ending balance at $15,400. On the philanthropy side, we started at $99,000. We had some spirit store income. We had a couple of reimbursements from the teacher discretionary fund, leaving us an ending balance of $104,000. Of that $104,000, about $34,000 are allocated, and leaving us a remaining unallocated balance of about $70,791. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Chris. And the final slide of today. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm clicking the wrong buttons here. There we go. All right. Our next PTO meeting will be March 15th at 9:30 in the morning. Thank you, everyone, for being here for this meeting today. It was an important one, so we all got to understand the budget and where the numbers were moving.